Alright mates, how's it going? In today's video, I'm covering the Unseen and Elemental Upheaval from Chronicle Volume 3. So let's get... So the old gods had been doing a bit of a crap job on Azeroth, to be honest. Y'Shaarj, who was apparently the most powerful of all of them, was ripped from the surface of Azeroth by Aman'Thul, way before humans and orcs and stuff even existed. And now that humans and orcs and stuff did exist, Cthulhu and Yogg-Saron have been defeated as well. But if you keep in count, there's still at least one left. Shrouded in an ocean of fevered dreams, among the bones of nameless horrors, N'Zoth remained untouched. It was pretty sure the heroes of Azeroth would eventually find it, but it didn't give a shit, mate. It wasn't afraid. In fact, it was actually kinda excited. The world was wounded by the war against the Lich King. The ancient dragon aspects weren't exactly doing that well either. Although Ysera was now awakened from her endless slumber, her mind was being bombarded by prophetic visions, and she wasn't entirely sure what was real anymore. Nozdormu had disappeared in the Time Ways to find out who the balls was playing silly buggers in there. Malygos was dead, so the Blue Dragonflight had no leader. And Alexstrasza was still okay, but she was exhausted. Being the only one still committed to safeguarding Azeroth was taking a little bit of a toll. So if there was ever a good time to usher in the Hour of Twilight, it was pretty much now. But it wasn't Cho'Gall and his cultists that were going to help get this party started. It was Deathwing. He'd recently taken up refuge in Deepholm, aka the Realm of Earth, in the Elemental Plane. And since he had an innate connection to Earth, he quite liked Deepholm. He was able to absorb the realm's latent energies in order to gather his strength and nurse his wounds. And N'Zoth was sneakily feeding its own dark energies into the Black Dragon's heart, and infusing the aspect of death with a power unlike any he'd ever known. This influx of strength made his form even more unstable, and his body was pretty much going to explode. So the old god commanded the Twilight's Hammer cultists to stop whatever they were doing and get down to Deepholm right now. They arrived and bolted Elementium plates over Deathwing's wounds to stop him from exploding, and I don't think anyone enjoyed that process. The pain was so agonising that the Black Dragon very often lashed out at the cultists. It was a thankless job. Whilst all that was going on, N'Zoth reached out to some other ancient allies in the Elemental Plane. The Elemental Spirits had served the old gods back in the good old days of the Black Empire. Surely they'll jump at the chance to do that again. Except Neptulon the Tidehunter and Therazane the Stone Mother didn't. They told him to piss off. They'd had plenty of time to break the shackles that once bound them to the old god's will. They weren't going to serve N'Zoth, and they would fight with all their fury if he tried to make them. But the other two elemental lords embraced N'Zoth's command. Ragnaros the Fire Lord and Alakia the Wind Lord relished the prospect of war. N'Zoth promised to deliver that, as well as release them from their prisons. Deathwing would be the key to their release. Once they were sure he definitely wasn't going to explode, and he was ready for war, the plan was simple. The Black Dragon aspect would burst forth from Deepholm and tear a rift between the Elemental Plane and the surface of Azeroth. He would also serve as an extension of N'Zoth's will. He'd command the Twilight's Hammer and the Elementals, and he'd coordinate the attacks. He'd do everything, basically. As far as Deathwing was concerned, his reward for doing this would be Azeroth itself. Once the other dragons were taken care of, this world would be his. But that wasn't true at all. N'Zoth had no intention of rewarding Deathwing. The old god was simply using the corrupted dragon aspect so that he could restore the Black Empire to its former glory and shroud the world in shadow. And once that was accomplished, Deathwing would be sleeping with the fishes, she? Deathwing recovered at a startling pace but at great cost to the world. Absorbing the Elemental Plane's power had destabilised the realm and thrown the elementals into turmoil. And this wasn't just confined to Deepholm. Elementals on the surface of Azeroth had no idea what the bloody hell was going on either. The oceans raged, freak storms blanketed several regions in ice, earthquakes happened. It was crazy and relentless. These natural disasters grew even more frequent and severe. Warchief Thrall and other shaman were like, something doesn't feel right about this. But they didn't know what was causing it. Thrall tried to commune with the elemental spirits, but they were in no condition to give him any answers. He just couldn't seem to get them to calm down. But then he had a little stroke of genius. If he couldn't get answers from the elementals on Azeroth, he'd go and get them from the elementals on Outland instead. Before he left, he named Garrosh Hellscream as the Horde's acting war chief. The warrior still had much to learn, but he'd proven himself to be a capable leader during Wrath of the Lich King. Also, his bravery and fierce pride had made him very popular amongst the orcs. They'd be absolutely gutted if he ended up being hit with the Blizzard villain stick or something. But not everyone agreed with Thrall's decision. High Chieftain Cairn Bloodhoof, for example. He wasn't a fan of control of the Horde being passed to Garrosh. That guy's nothing but a brash warmonger. And Thrall was like, look, I like you, I respect you, but shut your goddamn mouth. Thrall believed this new responsibility would temper Garrosh and grant him wisdom, so I guess Thrall's an idiot. Because taking on leadership of the Horde only encouraged Garrosh to indulge in his love for war even more. He believed the Horde was being too nice. They were acting like a bunch of hippies whilst resources were scarce. After Thrall departed, Garrosh turned his gaze northwest to the forests of Ashenvale. There were lots of resources there, and no one really cares about night elves, so he sent his troops into the woodlands with the intention of taking those resources whether the Alliance liked it or not. And surprisingly, the Alliance didn't like it. Tensions rose between factions, again, and open war seemed inevitable, again. Some members of the Horde loved this, some didn't. Cairn Bloodhoof did everything he could to reason with the acting war chief to prevent further bloodshed, but that didn't work, so the Elder Tauren went ahead and did the only thing left that he could do. He challenged Garrosh to a Magora. In front of a big crowd, these two heroes of the Horde fought for the future of their faction. One side represented a peaceful future, the other, blood and conquest and stuff. And unfortunately, or fortunately if you're a bloody psychopath, blood and conquest and stuff won. Cairn fought bravely, but he lost and died. It was pretty sad, man. Especially since there was now no one willing to oppose Garrosh's rule, and that's not going to end well. And we're leaving it there! In the next Volume 3 video, Magni is turned into a diamond, Moira has a bit of a hard time with some of her Dark Iron peeps, and Thrall meets a very special lady in Outland, which is nice for him. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, all of that bollocks, and all that's left to say is, thanks for watching, and see ya!